now joined by Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, who is joining us as chairman, and MD of Biocon, who joins us on the show. Hi, ma'am. Thanks so much for joining in. We just heard you talking at the presser. In fact, you as well admitted it was a rather muted quarter that we have seen various challenges in the past quarter. But how's the second half of the year looking, ma'am? Do you expect a bit of an uptick coming in there? Some of these regulatory issues, can they be sorted out for? And also update us, what's happening on the biosimilars business? What's the outlook going ahead?
Yeah, I think, we have two challenges, that we have to basically overcome. One is, of course, with respect to our small molecules business, our APIs business. And there I mentioned to you that there are pricing pressures being felt by, all the Indian generic companies. I think that has actually had a cascading effect on our own business. And I think that is basically something that we hope will basically correct, because we hope it's bottomed out, and we hope that the next half will see better returns for us in many of these segments. Having said that, we are also very optimistic about our own entry into the generics market with our rosuvastatin, and we hope that that will also pick up in terms of sales. Now coming to biosimilars, which is, as you know, our main strategic business. And there I think we've had a huge impact this quarter, because we've had to take certain plant shutdowns, plant disruptions, because of certain modifications that we've had to undertake in order to comply with certain regulatory requirements. But that is now getting complete by the end of this quarter. And I think that going ahead we should see some basic return to that business. Having said that, I think, as I mentioned earlier on, we just have really little more than a quarter to show some positive growth trajectory. So the real uptick will actually start next fiscal. Having said that, I believe that we are also looking at certain tenders in emerging markets, certain delayed regulatory approvals in certain markets, which we hope will then, come into play for the rest of this year.
Okay. Mrs. Shaw, hi. Thanks very much for joining in. This is Ekta this side. Wanted to actually, just expand a little bit on the small molecules business. You did mention pricing pressure. Are you referring to the US markets when you're talking about pricing pressure?
Largely US market, because as you know, we are the key suppliers of statins and immunosuppressants to the US market. But of course there are other markets, the LATAM markets continue to deliver robustly for us. But I think the main impact has been in the US market. And we believe that, at least going forward, because of pricing pressure, the sort of the consumption of many of these APIs have come down from some of our key customers who decided not to play in those markets, and that's why I said it sort of had a cascading effect on our business.
Sure.
But I think going forward, these companies have decided to re-enter at certain price levels, and we expect that the uptake will improve.
Okay. Mrs. Shaw, we've actually woken up to news this morning that CVS might be, in fact, considering a merger with one of the largest health insurers in the US. That is obviously to combat Amazon entering into the market as well. So what is your sense when it obviously comes to pricing pressure in the US? What are you anticipating? Because you mentioned that you expect it to have bottomed out. Has it, or do you expect incremental pricing pressure because of the developments that we're seeing with Amazon, etc., entering, and hence the impact on the small molecules business as well as your generics entry in the US?
Well, I think if you look at it in one way, I think the Indian generic players are the lowest cost providers of generics, and therefore whether it's a CVS or whether it's an Amazon, I think the Indian manufacturers of generics are going to be extremely competitive. So from that point of view, I think India has a huge opportunity to make a bigger play in the generics business. So whether it's CVS, whether it's Amazon, I think you are going to see Indian companies benefiting out of these kind of big developments. Obviously, we will have to wait and watch and see what happens, but that's the way I look at this business opportunity.
All right, Ms. Shaw, a question from my side. The US FDA recently, they had issued a complete response letter as far as pegfilgrastim is concerned. Have you responded to them? What's the status update on that? And as far as trastuzumab is concerned, December 3 is the target action date. Is there a risk for further delays because it was delayed by 3 months earlier?
No, let me explain and answer these questions in two parts. As far as the complete response letter of the pegfilgrastim dossier was concerned, as you know, we've already shared with you that the key concerns were really about updating our BLA based on certain, plant modifications that we have done in response to their own observations. And I think this really pertains to plant requalification, which was not really ready at that time when they were reviewing our dossier. And therefore, they have actually flagged this as an important part of that CRL. We are in a position to basically, sort of update the dossier. I mean, obviously we have to resubmit the dossier with this additional information of requalified plant data. But I think we are in a position to do that, fairly soon. After which, of course, they will review the dossier, and hopefully, we will get approval not too late after that. But it doesn't really impact our commercialization plans for pegfilgrastim, and that's what is a relief for us.
Okay.
Now, when you look at the trastuzumab target action date of 3rd December, we hope we are on track to receive approval on that date. I think we have basically responded to most of their queries, and what gives us the confidence is the fact that the ODAC approval basically has no concerns on any of the scientific aspects or the clinical data or any other aspects which normally are a big concern when it comes to taking a decision to approve or not.
That is actually a positive, because I understand that the trastuzumab basically had nothing to do with the Bangalore facility remediation, so that obviously is a positive, Mrs. Shaw. But talking about the Bangalore facility, where exactly do things stand when it comes to remediation? One, with the US FDA, as well as secondly with the European regulators?
Well, I think we have basically carried out all the, the CAPAs that have been expected both from EMA and US FDA. They're largely complete. I think we are in a position to seek re-inspection from EMA fairly soon. And we are in a position to basically provide all the CAPA updates to US FDA in terms of both all our submitted dossiers. So I think we are fairly confident, and we are working very closely with both regulatory agencies to make sure that there's nothing outstanding.
Okay, a quick last question then, Mrs. Shaw. What was actually a disappointment this quarter was the operational margins this time for Biocon. So what can we expect in terms of guidance probably in the second half of the fiscal?
I did explain to you what the reasons for those lower margins were. I mean, obviously, if you have lower sales and if you have much higher impact of Malaysia carrying costs and an impact on your biologic sales and revenues, I think it is obviously, a no-brainer that it's going to impact margins. Hopefully, with some recovery going forward, the margins can only improve.
All right, ma'am, final question from my end then. I remember you had divested some stake in Syngene earlier. Any possibility of you're looking to bring that stake down? Could we expect some further divestment, or that's not on the cards?
Well, right now, I don't think there is a need to look at those kind of divestments. But, depending on how our business needs are, we will keep, revisiting these opportunities.
All right, that's the word coming in from Ms. Shaw, indicating that right now there is no need to divest stake, but as and when business demands, they may take a relook at that.